The Secret Law of Effortless Wealth. Introduction. The world still worships sweat. We were taught that the harder we grind, the more we earn, that fortune lives in long hours and aching hands. Factories once roared with that belief, steam rising like burnt offerings to the god of labor. Men and women worked until their backs broke, convinced that effort itself was virtue. And yet, the truth, the one almost no one dared to whisper, is this: money has never come from work. It comes from alignment. The invisible hand that moves gold and opportunity through this world does not respond to exhaustion. It responds to vibration, to the silent frequency of thought held with faith. A century ago, a quiet man named Wallace D. Wattles discovered this truth and wrote it in words so simple that few believed him. He said, "You do not get rich by doing certain things, but by doing things in a certain way." That certain way is what you're about to remember. For generations, humanity has been hypnotized by the myth of labor. We call it productivity, progress, the noble grind. But beneath those words hides a cruel misunderstanding, the belief that value is external, that money is earned from the outside in. Look around. The world's wealthiest are not always the hardest working. Some move through life with ease, while others toil endlessly and still sink into lack. Why? Because Wattles revealed what every mystic before him hinted at, that wealth is mental causation, not physical struggle. There is, he wrote, a thinking substance, an intelligent, creative field that fills the universe. Whatever form you hold in your mind with faith and gratitude, this substance begins to shape into reality. To most, this sounds impossible, yet all around us, nature obeys this same law. Every seed reproduces its kind. Thought is the seed of circumstance, and when your inner vibration matches the frequency of wealth, wealth cannot help but appear, through channels known and unknown. Think of your own life. How many times have you worked tirelessly, only to find doors closed? And how many times have you simply known something would work? And it did, almost effortlessly. That quiet knowing is alignment. That is the certain way Wattles spoke of. The fusion of clear mental image, unwavering faith, and grateful action. He warned, "The moment you abandon the idea that money comes through toil, you begin to work in partnership with the universe. The moment you stop pushing, life starts flowing, but to reach that point you must confront an ancient fear, the terror of letting go of struggle. The mind whispers, 'If I stop fighting, I'll lose everything.' Yet the opposite is true. The fight itself is what keeps you poor. Here is the law as Wattles understood it. There exists a formless substance that responds to thought. A clear mental picture of abundance impressed upon this substance causes its manifestation. Gratitude keeps you connected to this infinite source. Action, guided by faith, gives the invisible a channel through which to flow. This is divine mechanics, the metaphysics of creation. When you align your thoughts with faith instead of fear, and your work with joy instead of duty, you step into the current of effortless wealth. Then work transforms from toil to expression, from trying to make a living to allowing life to make through you. Every act done with awareness of abundance magnetizes an increase. Every word spoken with gratitude multiplies substance. Every moment lived in certainty strengthens your link to the infinite storehouse. You are not here to earn, you are here to emanate. Imagine standing in that ancient factory again, but this time you see what the others could not. Behind the machines, beyond the sweat and noise, there is a quiet field of light, pure creative intelligence waiting to obey whoever dares to think differently. You realize the true labor is not of hands, but of consciousness. You no longer chase, you radiate. You no longer beg, you allow. You no longer say, "I must work to earn," but "I work to express the richness already within me." That is the secret of effortless wealth. Not a miracle, but a method. Not mysticism, but alignment with law. As you move into Chapter 1, the thinking substance, you'll see how this invisible intelligence has been shaping every event of your life, waiting for your conscious command. When you finally understand it, money ceases to be a struggle. It becomes a mirror. Because from this point on you'll know You do not earn money, you summon it. Chapter 1. The Thinking Substance. The True Source of Wealth. Long before the first coin was minted, before banks or barter or the invention of trade, there existed something far greater, a living ocean of intelligence that filled the invisible space between all things. Wattles called it the thinking substance. He described it not as an idea, but as a reality, the primal essence from which gold, wheat, bodies, and worlds are shaped. Every tree, every thought, every human destiny arises from this unseen field. He wrote, "There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought, in this substance, produces the thing that is imaged by the thought." Pause for a moment and imagine that, an intelligent field surrounding you right now, waiting for your instruction. It breathes through your thoughts, hears your emotions, and responds to your certainty. This, not your job or your employer or your hours worked, is the true source of wealth. Humanity forgot this truth when it began to worship matter instead of mind. We learned to chase effects instead of mastering the cause. We began to dig for gold in the outer world, never realizing the gold mine was within. Wattles observed this error in his own era, a world enslaved by industry where men worked 16-hour days, yet remained poor in spirit and pocket alike. He saw that physical labor alone could not explain the prosperity of some and the poverty of others. If money were purely the result of effort, then the hardest workers on earth would be the richest. Yet the opposite is often true. He concluded, there must be a deeper law at play, a metaphysical law of creation, one that links thought to form, vibration to substance, consciousness to cash. The universe, he said, is not a machine but a living mind, and the mind that knows this truth can never truly be poor again. You've been taught to think of wealth as a competition, to believe that what another gains, you must lose. This is the consciousness of scarcity, the competitive mind which Wattles warned against. It breeds fear, jealousy, and separation. But the thinking substance is infinite. It cannot be depleted or cornered by anyone. It creates endlessly from within itself. When you understand that, everything changes. Consider this. Every time you envy another's fortune, you tell the universe, their wealth limits mine. But when you bless their abundance, you affirm, their gain proves mine is possible. The difference is energetic, yet it determines the entire trajectory of your life. Wattles taught that poverty is not a condition of circumstance, but of awareness. It is the result of thinking against the flow of creation, of imagining lack in an infinite field of supply. And once that field receives your thought of lack, it obediently manifests lack in form. You are right now surrounded by invisible substance waiting to shape itself into your idea of wealth. The only question is, what image are you impressing upon it? Wattles' discovery is both mystical and practical. He said that to manifest wealth one must form a clear mental image of the desired result, not vague longing but definite creation. Hold that image with unwavering faith, never doubting its reality. Express gratitude constantly, for gratitude keeps you in touch with the source. Act in a certain way, with purpose, efficiency, and joyful expectation, not strain. This is the true alchemy of wealth. Thought, faith, gratitude, action, manifestation. When you think richly, you magnetize opportunities. When you believe, you command substance to obey. When you act with gratitude, you give the universe permission to deliver. It's not magic, it's law. The law by which the seed becomes a tree and the idea becomes a fortune. Work, then, is not the generator of wealth. It is merely the stage upon which wealth appears. A gardener does not force a plant to grow by effort. He aligns with nature's process. In the same way, your role is not to push reality, but to hold the mental picture so faithfully that reality must yield to it. Think of it. The air you breathe is filled with this thinking substance. Every atom in your body is woven from it. It listens when you speak. It mirrors when you feel. It builds when you believe. When you truly grasp this, you stop begging life for scraps and start commanding it with reverence. You no longer say, "I must earn money," but "I must think and act in harmony with wealth." This is what Wattles meant by doing things in a certain way. Not the way of hustle, but the way of consciousness, calm, deliberate, creative. The rich man is not he who works hardest, but he who works with the laws of the universe instead of against them. As your awareness deepens, you'll begin to feel it, a subtle shift in your energy, a quiet authority that says, "All supply moves through me." And in that realization, work becomes sacred, not as a burden but as a joyous expression of divine creation. In the next chapter, The Illusion of Labor, we'll dismantle the greatest lie of all, the belief that money is the child of exhaustion. You'll see why struggle repels supply, and how faith, not force, opens the gates of abundance. Because once you understand the nature of the thinking substance, you'll never again mistake effort for power. You'll know the universe doesn't pay for toil. It pays for awareness. Chapter 2. The Illusion of Labor, Why Struggle Repels Supply. Picture the worker at dawn, his breath visible in the cold, his tools heavy in hand. He believes, as most do, that the sweat of his brow is what earns him survival. He wakes, he labors, he sleeps, and he repeats. Generations have done the same. Millions chained to the rhythm of labor, repeating a creed carved into the human psyche. Work harder, and you'll have more. Yet the paradox stands. Some work endlessly and remain poor, while others seem to attract abundance with little visible effort. Why? Because work, as society understands it, is not the cause of wealth. It's the echo of consciousness. The outer world simply mirrors the belief you hold within, and when that belief is in struggle, the universe, obedient as ever, sends you more struggle. Wattles saw it clearly in his time, factories roaring with exhausted men, fields filled with bent backs, and yet all around him others becoming rich with ease. He dared to say what no industrial man would. It is not by hard work that men get rich, but by doing things in a certain way. That certain way was alignment, the harmonious cooperation between thought, faith, and action. Labor alone, disconnected from faith, becomes friction. Think of a wheel turning against the current. No matter how fast it spins, it makes no progress. That is the illusion of labor, motion mistaken for creation. Most people confuse the two. They run endlessly, chasing what could be magnetized effortlessly if only they would stop running and start aligning. To struggle for money is like trying to grab water with clenched fists. The tighter you hold, the less you have. This is where the illusion becomes dangerous. The world glorifies exhaustion, the grind culture that praises burnout as proof of worth. We wear fatigue like medals of honor and call it discipline, unaware that the frequency of strain is the exact vibration that repels abundance. Wattles warned against this mindset. To think that wealth is the reward of toil is to live in error. It is the result of right thinking and right action. Consider your own experience. Have you ever forced a project, pushing with willpower alone, and watched it collapse? Then remember another time when things simply clicked, when doors opened, when coincidences seemed to conspire in your favor. That's not luck. That's alignment. It's the universe responding to the tone of your energy, not the volume of your effort. The subconscious mind does not understand overwork. It only understands vibration. When your energy says, "I must fight for what I want," it translates that signal literally. You must fight. And so, life obeys, delivering more conflict, more resistance, more proof that you must fight. But the moment you affirm, "I already possess the wealth of the universe, I merely allow it to take form," the struggle dissolves, and what once required force begins to flow. Here is Wattles' antidote to the illusion of labor, the metaphysical formula for true creation. Think richly. Refuse to think of money as distant or difficult. Every thought of hardship cuts you off from the creative flow. Replace "I must earn" with "I must align." Act calmly. Work with intention, not desperation. Each act must be infused with the awareness that you are a channel for infinite supply. Let your movement be graceful, not frantic, for the infinite never rushes. Rest in faith. After doing all you can in the outer world, release the outcome. Faith is the act of energetic surrender, the proof that you trust the invisible to complete what you began. Live in gratitude. Gratitude keeps your vibration high and your connection open. It is the language of wealth, the heart's acknowledgement that supply is already present. Work then becomes sacred not because of its difficulty, but because of the consciousness behind it. Effort done in fear produces exhaustion. Effort done in faith produces expansion. The difference lies not in what you do, but in who is doing it, the fearful self or the aligned self. The illusion of labor dies the moment you understand this. You were never meant to wrestle with life, you were meant to collaborate with it. The universe is not impressed by struggle, it is moved by coherence. Money is not seduced by exhaustion, it is drawn to calm conviction. When your work becomes an expression of faith instead of fear, the magnetic field around you changes. You begin to notice synchronicities, unexpected clients, effortless promotions, inspired ideas that seem to arrive from nowhere. But they do not come from nowhere. They come from the thinking substance responding to your certainty. Wattles called this acting in the certain way, the ability to move through life knowing that you are not a beggar of the universe, but a participant in its creation. When you work from that awareness, even the smallest act carries the weight of divine energy. You no longer work to earn, you work to express. And expression is effortless. It is the soul's natural state. In the next chapter, The Creative versus the Competitive Mind, we'll explore the greatest fork in human destiny, the choice between the mind that struggles to get and the mind that knows how to create. One lives in fear of loss, the other lives in partnership with infinite supply. And from that choice, between force and flow, every fortune or failure on earth is born. Chapter 3. The Creative versus the Competitive Mind, the fork in human destiny. Two minds move through this world. One sees life as a battlefield, the other sees it as a canvas. One fights for every resource, believing the universe to be stingy and cruel. The other creates effortlessly, knowing the universe to be alive, generous, and infinite. These are the two minds that shape every destiny, the competitive and the creative. Wallace D. Wattles taught that the greatest mistake of mankind is to live in the competitive state of consciousness, to believe that in order for one to win, another must lose. He called it a disease of the race mind. And indeed it is. Competition is the child of fear. And fear is the signal that one has forgotten the truth. There is more than enough for all. Look at the modern world. Nations compete for dominance. Corporations compete for markets. Individuals compete for recognition, for validation, for survival. And yet in that endless chase no one ever truly wins, because the vibration of competition is separation itself. It tells the universe, I believe in lack. And so, lack becomes the governing law of one's experience. Wattles saw this even in his own century. Men trampling each other in factories, businesses collapsing from greed, dreams dying under the weight of envy. He wrote, "The creative mind knows no competition. It creates what it wants without taking away from others. The competitive mind imitates. The creative mind originates. The competitive mind fights for position. The creative mind expands the entire field. And because the creative mind lives in the vibration of increase, the universe rushes to multiply whatever it touches." Ask yourself, which mind governs you? Do you feel joy when others succeed, or do you feel a sting of loss? Do you see wealth as proof of abundance, or as evidence that your share has been taken? Every time you resent another's success, you reinforce the idea that success is scarce, that there isn't enough room for both of you. And the moment you believe that, you unconsciously withdraw from the field of infinite supply and step into the prison of limitation. Competition creates tension, a subtle, energetic contraction that tells the thinking substance, I do not have enough. And since this intelligent substance mirrors every dominant belief, it echoes that scarcity back to you in form. Wattles warned that those who live in competition cut themselves off from the source, because they are too busy fighting over the fragments of what already exists instead of creating something new. The creative mind, on the other hand, plays a different game entirely. It doesn't steal. It conceives. It doesn't demand. It receives. It doesn't envy. It expands. When you move from competition to creation, the universe stops mirroring your fear and begins amplifying your ideas. So how do you shift from the competitive to the creative state of consciousness? Wattles gave us the steps. Though he never used the language of psychology or quantum fields, yet his wisdom predates both. See the infinite everywhere. Begin by replacing the idea of scarcity with one of endless expansion. Every grain of sand, every leaf, every star is proof that the universe overflows. The source creates in excess, so must you. Rejoice in another's success. When you bless the prosperity of others, you signal to the universe, there is enough for me too. In that moment, jealousy dissolves, and your frequency rises to match abundance itself. Create instead of compete. Don't ask, how do I beat them? Ask, what can I build that no one has yet imagined? Every inspired idea that serves life multiplies your supply. Live in the consciousness of increase. Speak, act, and think in ways that make everyone and everything around you grow. To think increase is to tune into the divine heartbeat of creation. Wattles wrote, "The creative mind is never anxious. It trusts in the power that works through it. When you create, you operate as an extension of the infinite, and the infinite cannot fail. Imagine the two roads before you. One leads into the noise of the marketplace, shouting, pushing, racing for more. That's the path of competition, loud, frantic, and hollow. The other path is silent, luminous, open like dawn. It's the path of creation, still, confident, unstoppable. The first path ends in exhaustion. The second ends in expansion. You must choose." Wattles' message is timeless because it isn't about business or economics. It's about consciousness. The creative mind is the mind of God expressing through you. And when you think as God thinks, you never need to compete, for you are the source itself in motion. As you move through life, remember this: whenever you envy, you contract. Whenever you bless, you expand. Whenever you compete, you block the flow. Whenever you create, you open it wide. To create is to agree with life. And when you agree with life, life agrees with you. In the next chapter, The Power of Definite Vision, we'll enter the heart of creation, the sacred act of imagining. You'll see how a single clear mental picture, held with faith, has more creative power than 1,000 days of hard labor. Because when your vision is definite, the universe has no choice but to obey. It's not about working harder, it's about seeing clearer. Chapter 4. The Power of Definite Vision, the imagination that commands reality. Everything that exists began as a picture in someone's mind. Before there was the palace, there was the plan. Before the bridge, the vision. Before the empire, a thought held long enough to call matter into order. Wattles understood this principle so completely that he made it the cornerstone of his system. You must form a clear and definite mental image of what you want. Hold this picture in your thoughts with fixed purpose and unwavering faith, and the thing you think about will be created. To him, imagination was not fantasy. It was divine architecture. When you think vividly and persistently, you are giving the thinking substance its blueprint. The universe does not respond to wishful daydreams. It responds to precision, to the definiteness of an image impressed upon it with emotion and faith. Most people never create. They drift. Their mental pictures flicker and fade with every mood. One day they desire freedom, the next they fear it. Their inner movie keeps changing, so the outer world never knows what to project. Wattles wrote that the average person moves as a ship without a chart or compass, tossed by conditions instead of commanding them. They pray for prosperity while imagining lack, speak of faith while vibrating fear, act with hope one moment and despair the next, and then they wonder why life feels inconsistent. A definite vision acts like gravity. It gathers the formless into form, An indefinite mind scatters its own power. Without a clear picture, the universe has nothing to obey. Energy answers direction, not confusion. Ask yourself, what image do I hold most clearly in my mind? Not what you wish you thought about, but what you actually revisit day after day. Is it abundance or anxiety? Is it freedom or the fear of failure? Every repeating image is a silent command to the universe. If you constantly imagine debt, struggle, or delay, the thinking substance obediently constructs situations that match those pictures. It is never personal. It is the law. That is why Wattles urged his students to see things as you want them to be, not as they are. Because the mind that clings to appearances keeps recreating appearances. Only vision, sustained, definite, emotional vision, can overrule the momentum of the past. Your outer life is a mirror of your dominant image. Change the picture, and reality begins to rearrange itself around it. Here is the practice of mastery, the art of definite vision. Withdraw from the chaos of appearances. Take time each day to enter silence, where the noise of circumstance cannot reach you. In that stillness, imagination becomes pure. Form a single vivid picture. Describe it in your mind until every detail feels real, the environment, the sensations, the gratitude of already having it. Emotion imprints the image onto the universal substance like fire on wax. Hold it with faith, not tension. Faith is a relaxed conviction, not a clenched will. The clearer and calmer your certainty, the faster the substance organizes itself. Refuse contradictory thoughts. Every time doubt arises, return to the picture and feel it again. Doubt is the only vibration strong enough to erase what faith has drawn. Act in harmony with the vision. Let your daily actions reflect the reality you've already accepted inwardly. The universe meets you halfway through circumstance, intuition, and timing. Wattles compared this process to an artist molding clay. Each thought is a touch of the hand. Each emotion adds shape. Gratitude fires the sculpture into permanence. Consider this: the richest person you can imagine, the inventor, the mystic, the builder of civilizations. They all used the same invisible tool you possess right now. Their outer achievements were simply reflections of inner constancy. The universe is not moved by your struggle, your education, or your lineage. It is moved by your image, clear, consistent, unwavering. Definiteness is destiny. When you choose a picture and refuse to let it go, the formless begins to crystallize around it. Events reorganize, people appear, coincidences align, because reality must obey the mind that knows what it wants. To live without a definite vision is to live as an echo. To hold one is to live as a creator. Wattles' quiet instruction still resounds. Think what you want, do not think of what you do not want. And that single command, practiced daily, has the power to alter the entire landscape of your life. In the next chapter, Faith, the substance of things desired, we will explore the bridge between thought and manifestation, the mysterious force that turns imagination into form. For even the clearest vision cannot live without the energy of belief behind it. Vision is the map. Faith is the current that carries it into reality. Chapter 5. Faith, the substance of things desired. There comes a moment in every creator's journey when the image is formed, the intention is clear, yet nothing has appeared. The mind wavers. Maybe it isn't working. Doubt creeps in like fog, covering the radiant picture once so alive. It is here in this sacred in-between that faith begins. Faith is not blind belief. It is spiritual eyesight, the vision that sees through delay into certainty. Wattles called it the substance of things desired. He meant it literally. Faith is the invisible material from which the visible is shaped. Where thought designs and imagination colors, faith provides the mass, the energetic density that pulls form out of the formless. Without it, even the clearest vision drifts like smoke. With it, mountains move, currents bend, and matter yields. Most people confuse faith with hope. Hope waits. Faith knows. Hope says, someday. Faith whispers, already. Wattles saw that the world suffers not from lack of opportunity, but from lack of conviction. Men and women pray for abundance while secretly expecting disappointment. They think two opposite thoughts at once, one of wealth, one of worry, and the universe, hearing both, delivers neither. He wrote, "To think faithlessly is to sever your connection with the source. You must know that the thing you desire is at this moment forming around you. That knowingness, quiet, unshakable, is what most have lost in an age that worships proof. We've been trained to believe only what we can touch, never realizing that touch itself is the echo of belief. The unseen must be believed before it can be seen. Think back to a time when you knew something good was coming. You didn't hope, you felt it. You spoke as if it were already true. And somehow, reality obeyed that tone of certainty. That vibration was faith. Not the ritual, not the prayer, the feeling underneath it. Every human carries a dial that tunes between fear and faith. Wherever the needle rests, reality begins to hum in harmony. Fear vibrates scarcity. Faith vibrates completion. The tragedy is that fear feels safer because it keeps us in control. Faith requires surrender, the letting go of how and when. But the moment you surrender, the law begins to work. The seed doesn't beg the soil for proof of germination, it simply trusts the process. That same law governs the seed of your desire. Faith is the atmosphere in which it germinates unseen. Wattles gave a simple yet revolutionary formula for faith in action. Speak the language of completion. Use present tense certainty, not "I will have wealth," but "wealth now flows through me." Words are creative sound. Faith gives them life. Feel before you see. Spend moments each day entering the emotional reality of fulfillment. Feeling precedes form. Emotion is the magnetic field that attracts conditions. Detach from appearances. Do not let visible lack cancel invisible progress. The field rearranges itself beneath the surface long before the flower breaks ground. Act as the channel, not the beggar. Work, plan, give, and speak as one who already lives in supply. Actions taken in certainty multiply results. Actions taken in desperation scatter them. Sustain gratitude. Gratitude is the maintenance of faith. It tells the universe, "I trust you, keep unfolding." Faith then is not belief without evidence. It is alignment before evidence. It's standing on unseen ground with the same confidence you have when standing on stone. When you hold that vibration long enough, the outer world has no choice but to conform. Imagine walking through life surrounded by an invisible orchestra playing a melody only you can hear. Everyone else listens for proof. You move to rhythm. That rhythm is faith, the song of what is becoming. Faith does not strain. It smiles before manifestation because it knows creation is already underway. It is the golden bridge between mind and matter, the pulse of God through human intention. Wattles called it the way of certainty. To live in certainty is to stop reacting to appearances and start directing them. Circumstances cease to intimidate you because you understand they are clay, malleable, obedient, temporary. Faith speaks once, then rests, and while it rests, the universe builds. So the next time fear tells you it isn't working, remember this law. What you believe with feeling is already forming in the invisible. Every doubt merely delays delivery. Every act of gratitude accelerates it. The spiritual man does not chase outcomes. He walks in outcomes unseen. In the next chapter, Gratitude, the Magnetic Key, we'll explore the emotion that keeps faith alive and abundance flowing. For gratitude is more than politeness. It is the resonance that locks you into the frequency of creation itself. If faith builds the bridge, gratitude lights the path across it. Chapter 6. Gratitude, the Magnetic Key. There is a sound that only the soul can make. It is not prayer. It is not petition. It is the quiet hum of gratitude, a vibration so high, so clear, that the universe cannot resist answering it. Wallace D. Wattles called gratitude the key that keeps you connected to the source of your supply. To him, gratitude wasn't sentiment, it was alignment. When you are grateful, You tune your inner instrument to the frequency of abundance. Everything in the universe moves toward harmony, and gratitude is the ultimate harmony between the Creator and the created, the song of acknowledgement that says, "I know where my good comes from." Most people only feel grateful when things go right. They see gratitude as a reaction to gain, but metaphysically, gratitude is not the effect of abundance. It is the cause. Wattles wrote, "The grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best, therefore it tends to become the best." He understood that a man can work day and night, yet if he complains, his vibration contracts and the flow of supply constricts. It is not punishment, it is physics. You cannot receive while broadcasting lack. Every word of resentment, every sigh of dissatisfaction sends a signal to the thinking substance that says, "I do not yet have enough." And since the universe mirrors belief, it obeys, sending you more lack to match your conviction. Gratitude reverses that signal instantly. It declares, "There is abundance now," and the law responds in kind, expanding the field around you. To live in gratitude is to stand in the vibration of completion, even when appearances suggest otherwise. That is faith matured into peace. Look within. How often have you postponed gratitude? We say, "I'll be thankful when I get the promotion, when I meet the right person, when I finally have enough." But by waiting, we push the frequency of abundance further away. We send the universe a message of delay. Not yet. Gratitude now is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It doesn't wait for proof. It creates proof. Try this experiment. Recall a time you were truly thankful, when joy welled up for no reason. Notice the lightness in your heart, the calm that followed. That state of being is magnetic. In that vibration, you are already rich, because richness is a feeling before it's a fact. Wattles insisted that the entire process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. It is the great harmonizer between thought and form. Here is how to practice the law of gratitude as Wattles intended. Begin and end each day with thanks. Upon waking, affirm quietly, "I am one with the source of infinite supply." At night, give thanks not just for what happened, but for what is unfolding unseen. Gratitude at the edges of the day sets the rhythm for everything between. Be grateful for possibility, not only for possession. When you can thank life for what is still forming, you prove your faith to the universe. This accelerates manifestation, for gratitude is evidence of certainty. Turn complaints into creations. When you feel irritation, pause and reframe. Even this serves my expansion. Gratitude transforms resistance into raw creative power. Express increase wherever you go. Speak and act so that every person and situation you touch feels richer for your presence. This is the practical side of gratitude. It radiates increase, and increase multiplies. Write it, speak it, feel it. Keep a daily gratitude record, not as a ritual, but as an energetic calibration. Feel the warmth behind each word. Feeling is what imprints the field. When gratitude becomes habitual, miracles become natural. Because you are no longer calling wealth, you are living in the frequency of it. The most magnetic souls in history all shared one thing in common: a thankful heart before evidence appeared. They thanked the divine before the rain, before the harvest, before the healing. That thanksgiving was not superstition, it was creation in motion. To be grateful is to speak the universe's native tongue. Everything alive responds to appreciation. It expands under it. The more grateful you are, the more reasons you're given to stay that way. Gratitude doesn't change the outer world first, it changes you. And when your inner world shifts, the outer must follow. So stand still for a moment, breathe, and whisper, "Thank you for what is, and for what is yet unseen." In that instant, you step into the current of divine circulation, the same current that feeds stars, moves oceans, and sustains your breath. That is the true power of gratitude. It is the invisible currency of heaven flowing through the soul, aware of its source. In the next chapter, Acting in a Certain Way, we'll move from inner alignment to outward expression. For once gratitude and faith are alive, action becomes sacred, no longer a struggle, but the visible dance of invisible law. You'll learn how to act without doubt, without haste, without fear, the way the infinite acts with calm certainty and unstoppable purpose. Chapter 7. Acting in a Certain Way. How to move like the infinite. The universe never rushes. It moves with absolute certainty, quiet, rhythmic, flawless. The sun never doubts its rising, the river never questions its path to the sea. Each fulfills its purpose without strain, because each is animated by the same intelligence that breathes through you. This is what Wallace D. Wattles meant by acting in the certain way. He wrote, "You must act in the present with faith and purpose. Act now upon the people and things in your present environment. To act in a certain way is to work as the infinite works, calmly, precisely, without fear of loss or doubt of result. It is not about effort, it is about essence. You move not to make something happen, but to express what already is happening through you. When you act in this consciousness, your deeds carry power. They ripple outward like waves that never fade, and the world begins to organize itself around your conviction. Most people act from confusion, rushing, reacting, fearing they might miss their chance. Their actions are frantic, born of uncertainty, and therefore barren of creative force. Wattles observed that fear of failure makes failure. When you act from worry, the energy of your work becomes distorted, its vibration tangled with doubt. You're trying to plant seeds while trampling the soil. This is why many labor endlessly without progress. Their hands move, but their hearts hesitate. Their words carry effort, not faith. And the universe responds in kind. Scattered results, unstable income, inconsistent opportunities. Action alone does not create, conscious action does. To act in a certain way is to combine vision, faith, and gratitude into motion. Every gesture becomes sacred. Every step is guided. Think of the last time you took action from fear. Remember the tension, the exhaustion, the quiet whisper that said, "If I stop pushing, everything will collapse." That was not creation, that was survival. And survival mode blocks spiritual circulation. Now remember a time when you moved with confidence, when inspiration struck, when the right words flowed, when doors opened effortlessly. That ease was not random, it was alignment. Wattles taught that the one who acts from faith never worries about results because he already knows the outcome. The energy he sends forth carries certainty, and certainty is irresistible to the universe. Action taken in this state carries more power than years of labor without conviction, because law responds not to motion, but to meaning. Here is the practice of acting in a certain way, the method Wattles meant when he said, "By thought you make the thing, by action you receive it." Act where you are, not where you wish to be. Don't wait for perfect conditions. The infinite always begins here, now. Whatever lies before you is the exact material through which your vision will express itself. Act with calm efficiency. Move deliberately, as if success were guaranteed, because metaphysically it is. Each action performed with composure carries more power than 1,000 done in anxiety. Let every action express faith. Infuse your tone, posture, and speech with quiet assurance. The field around you records that vibration and multiplies it in ways you cannot predict. Do every act as a complete act. Wattles said, "Put the whole power of your mind and will into every act. Treat every task, however small, as sacred service. This intensity of presence bridges the invisible and the visible. Detach from the result. Once the action is done, release it completely. The infinite completes what you begin. Worry is interference, rest is faith. When you move like this, the quality of your energy shifts. People feel it. Opportunities rearrange themselves. Even chaos begins to organize around your conviction. Because when you act in a certain way, you become a living expression of divine order. To act in a certain way is to work as the universe works, without hesitation, without doubt, without hurry. It is the stillness of power in motion. Wattles compared it to the growing of a seed. The seed does not wonder if it will sprout. It simply responds to the laws that govern it, and those laws never fail. So must you. Act, not as a struggler reaching upward, but as a creator unfolding outward. Every task you do with faith strengthens your magnetic field. Every doubt weakens it. Therefore live as though your success were inevitable, because to the infinite it already is. The one who acts in this consciousness becomes unstoppable, not because he is forceful, but because he is certain. He is the calm at the center of motion, the point through which the universe expresses order into chaos. When your thoughts are aligned with truth and your actions flow from peace, you cannot fail. Failure can only exist where doubt remains. Act now. Act faithfully. Act as the infinite acts, with majesty, purpose, and serenity. For when you do, the universe moves with you. In the final chapter, the effortless stream of supply, we'll see what happens when all these laws, thought, faith, gratitude, and action, converge into perfect harmony. You'll learn how wealth begins to move toward you naturally, like a river finding its source, because the universe cannot resist one who has become its reflection. There is no more trying, only allowing. Chapter 8. The effortless stream of supply, when the universe works through you. There comes a point on this path when you no longer chase the current. You become the current. What once felt like effort now feels like rhythm. What once demanded force now flows as grace. This is the moment when money, opportunity, and circumstance begin to move toward you as naturally as rivers seek the sea. Not because you are lucky, not because you have finally worked hard enough, but because you have entered alignment with the great circulation, the endless motion of divine supply. Wallace D. Wattles called this state living in the certain way. He said, "You can become rich without robbing or taking away from anyone, and by doing so you become a channel through which the universe increases life for all." When you reach this realization, wealth ceases to be something you earn. It becomes something that moves through you, blessing everything it touches. Most people never experience this effortless flow because they still believe they are separate from supply. They imagine themselves as beggars before an indifferent universe, asking for what they already contain. They cling to money, fear loss, compete for scraps, and pray for miracles while rejecting the miracle of their own consciousness. They dam the river with anxiety and call the resulting drought reality. But the universe has no droughts, only blockages of belief. Wealth is not a reservoir to be earned and guarded. It is a river that must circulate. The moment you hoard from fear, the current stagnates. The moment you give from faith, it accelerates. This is the paradox of divine economy. The less you cling, the more you attract. The more you give, the more you overflow. Look at your relationship with money. When it enters your life, do you breathe in relief or tighten in fear? Do you see it as evidence of security or as proof of how easily it could vanish? Whatever emotion you attach to money becomes the frequency that governs its behavior in your life. Gratitude invites it to stay. Fear drives it away. Wattles wrote that no man can be rich who has a poor mind, meaning not a mind empty of cash, but a mind full of worry. Because worry vibrates lack, and lack repels supply. Your task then is not to chase wealth, but to stabilize your vibration so that wealth can circulate freely through you. You are the riverbed. Money is only the water. When the channel is open, clean of fear, aligned in faith, the flow becomes constant. To live in the effortless stream of supply, see money as energy, not matter. It is the visible form of invisible movement. Treat it with reverence, not attachment. It comes and goes according to your inner flow. Keep circulation alive. Give freely, not as loss, but as participation in the universal rhythm. Every act of generosity expands your capacity to receive. The moment you let money move, you prove your trust in the source. Anchor every action in peace. The infinite never acts in panic. Move from calm assurance, and your field broadcasts stability. attracting resources and opportunities that mirror your stillness. Receive without guilt. Many repel abundance unconsciously by feeling unworthy of it, but creation cannot bless a vessel that refuses to open. Accept with joy. It keeps the current pure. Live as an instrument of increase. Let every person, place, and project you touch expand through you. You are the conduit through which the universe multiplies itself. To increase life for others is to ensure life increases for you. When you master these principles, money becomes the byproduct of something far greater, vibrational coherence with divine order. You are no longer working for wealth. Wealth is working for you. Imagine yourself standing beside a vast ocean. Each wave that breaks upon the shore is a form of supply, an idea, an opportunity, a flow of abundance. Yet none of it belongs to you exclusively. It moves through you, not to you. Your task is simply to remain open, rhythmic, and grateful. In that openness, you become the infinite's favorite instrument. You stop asking, "How can I get?" and begin asking, "How can I let?" How can I let more life flow through me? How can I let more good circulate to others through my being? And as you ask that, the universe answers with more to give, more to share, more to live. Because the law is perfect. To the one who circulates, increase is inevitable. When you live in the effortless stream of supply, there is no more fear of lack, no anxiety about timing, no guilt about success. You realize that money is not earned. It is expressed. You are not a laborer. You are a channel. And through that channel flows the limitless abundance of the infinite. Breathe it in. Feel it move through you. That is wealth, not the coin, but the current. Not the possession, but the participation in divine flow. And so we arrive where all journeys of consciousness end, in effortless awareness. The river no longer needs to be found. It was always here. You simply learned to flow with it. In the epilogue, The True Currency, we'll close this series where it began, with the revelation that money is only the shadow of something far greater, the radiance of divine life expressing through awakened consciousness. You'll see that the richest man is not the one who has the most, but the one who moves with the source in perfect trust. Epilogue, The True Currency. The secret is simple, and yet it took lifetimes to remember. You were never chasing money. You were chasing meaning. All the gold, all the effort, all the striving. They were symbols, not substance. They were reflections of something deeper your soul always knew. That value does not live in things, but in being. When Wattles wrote that the purpose of life is the advancement and increase of life, he was describing the real currency of the universe. It is not money. It is awareness. Money is merely one of the forms awareness takes when it flows freely through consciousness. The true currency of the universe is life itself, moving through you, expressing as you. When you understand this, you stop serving money and start serving life, and then money serves you. Humanity has mistaken symbols for the source. We collect pieces of paper and digits on screens and call them wealth. We measure worth by accumulation rather than expansion, and so we have built an economy of fear, a world obsessed with earning rather than expressing. This illusion is what Wattles sought to dismantle. He saw that man's endless striving had blinded him to the law of being. He wrote, "The very best thing you can do for the whole world is to make the most of yourself." To make the most of yourself means to let more of the infinite flow through your mind, your hands, your heart. When you do that, increase happens automatically, in money, in peace, in purpose. But when you resist that flow through greed, worry, or guilt, the current slows. You feel poor not because supply is gone, but because you've stepped out of its rhythm. Ask yourself gently, why do you truly want money? Beneath the surface answers, security, freedom, comfort. There is always a deeper desire, to feel alive without fear. That feeling is not a product of possession. It is the natural state of the soul when it remembers its source. Money was never the goal. It was a mirror, reflecting your belief about your own power. When you feared lack, money fled. When you trusted life, money followed. When you tried to prove your worth through labor, you felt weary. When you acted from faith, doors opened by themselves. The lesson was never about working harder. It was about remembering that you were already connected to everything you sought to earn. You are not separate from the source of supply. You are its expression, and to the degree that you live as that expression, abundance has no choice but to appear. Here is the final teaching of Wattles distilled into living practice. Think creatively, never competitively. See life as infinite, yourself as a co-creator, and every soul as part of the same circulation. This alone will dissolve envy, scarcity, and fear. Hold faith as substance. Believe not in distant outcomes, but in the unseen presence that is already forming them. Speak, act, and rest from that knowing. Give gratitude a voice. Thank everything, even the delay, even the lesson. Gratitude is what keeps you attuned to abundance when appearances suggest the opposite. Act in a certain way. Let your work be quite proof of your faith. Move without hurry, speak without doubt, and treat every act as a sacred transaction between the infinite and form. Circulate life. Wherever you go, leave increases. Give more energy, clarity, kindness, and beauty than you take. This is the divine economy, and in it, your return is guaranteed. When you live like this, money no longer feels separate from spirit. It becomes an instrument, a way for the infinite to serve itself through you. And that is the highest prosperity of all. To know that what you receive for the sake of giving more. Stand still now. Breathe. Feel the pulse within your heart, that steady rhythm of life itself. That is the true currency. It circulates without end, needing no mint, no measure, no permission. It is wealth beyond numbers, the very breath of God through the form called you. Money is only its shadow. When you chase the shadow, you labor. When you honor the light, the shadow follows you effortlessly. Wattles' wisdom lives here, in this remembrance that you do not earn by striving but by being, that your worth was settled before you were born, that the source expresses itself through your consciousness, and its language is increase. So go forth not as a seeker but as a sower. Plant ideas, joy, peace, beauty, and watch the field of your life multiply beyond effort. Because in the divine economy, the only true wealth is the consciousness that gives more life. And when you become that consciousness, radiant, generous, certain, the universe bends around you in recognition and whispers, "You finally understand." The current moves, the river flows, and all that you once struggled to earn begins to arrive quietly, faithfully, inevitably, as the reflection of who you have become. It is summoned by consciousness. It flows through gratitude, obeys faith, and moves wherever increase is served. You are not here to earn a living. You are here to give life, and in doing so, you will discover the greatest prosperity of all, the peace of knowing that everything that belongs to you is already yours, and always has been.